Welcome, baseball fans, to this edition of State of MLB, where we'll be covering news of the week. And boy, oh boy, have there been so many things coming out from ESPN, MLB, Manfred, players everywhere. We've been inundated with news about trying to get the baseball season started, and yet there's still no baseball. And I don't know about you, but I am baseball starved to the point where I start breaking out my baseball movies, and they helped a little bit, but when you don't have that adrenaline rush of anticipation, it's just not quite the same thing. Sure, they fire some drama in there. It isn't necessarily baseball related per se, but it is what it is. They're movies for a reason. So let's get into some of the details that have been going on regarding getting this baseball season actually started for a change. Because fundamentally, canceling the whole season would be a disaster for both players, for the owners, for everybody. So originally proposals were going out with regards to, in protection against the virus, to have everyone play in empty stadiums and to have everyone grouped together in Arizona where they are far closer together than they were in Florida, and playing empty stadiums, all that jazz. That has morphed into changing up the divisions from either Grapefruit versus Cactus League to now make them geographical, East versus Central versus West Coast teams. Things of that nature. That hasn't been actually determined whether or not they're going to do that. But at this point in time, the latest version of proposals that went out this week that the Player Association and the owners discussed and putting together was, instead of a 162 game season, let's cut it in half to 82. We would start in July, and we would provide testing for players twice a week. Now, they've contracted with an organization that promises and guarantees that they can provide results within 24 hours, and they can do tracing and all other stuff to help keep players safe. Now, given the fact that the infections themselves have been actually, I don't want to get into any politics here or any medical science here, but fundamentally, I understand the concerns, because it's not so much the players themselves who this could be lethal to, but the people with whom they are close to. For example, my wife is immune compromised, which means that even though I'm healthy as a horse, I can't afford to get her infected, and these players probably have family members, relatives, little children, other things that they can't afford to be carriers of. So I certainly understand how that could be devastating to a player to be a carrier, transmit it to a loved one, and have problems there. So the organizations, Manfred, the office, and the owners have agreed to, okay, we're going to front the bill to provide twice-a-week testing to make sure that throughout the course of the season, everyone stays healthy, everyone stays good, and should they get the infection, they can leave for the year to go recover, either go into a two-week quarantine or just end of the season. And to combat that shortage of labor, they discussed expanding the rosters well beyond the 24. That way you can stockpile rosters with a whole bunch of players to start out the season with, and then as players had to leave, they could they would still maintain decent numbers of people to play the games. That element of things, I think, was in a prior version of the conversation. In the current version, they did not discuss having expanded rosters per se. But one significant difference here is with the impact of the shortened season and financially on the players, is the fact that major league players are guaranteed contracts. Now, granted, the players' union negotiates all this with the league, but regardless of how that shakes out, major leaguers are, as long as there are games played, because the contracts in the collective bargaining unit stipulate that they are guaranteed as long as there's a schedule. However, if there's no games, there's no schedule. Yes, officially there was one published. I get that. But we're already in the middle of May, so you're looking at over 45, 60 games, something like that, would have been played, but there haven't been played. How do you compensate somebody for work that hasn't been done? Minor leaguers, on the other hand, are not guaranteed contracted. They don't play, they don't get paid. So if you have a situation where you have major leaguers who are not willing to play because they feel the risks are too high, with potentially getting the disease or getting killed by the disease, you have a whole flush of minor leaguers who would love to take their spot. They may not have the same talent level, but at least it's an opportunity for them to play ball and get paid for the season. Given that, there's a lot of contention about the rosters, about who's willing to play, who isn't willing to play. And Manfred has said that if you're not comfortable playing, then that's perfectly understandable. You don't have to play. You're not going to force anybody against their will to play the game. At the same time, if you don't play, there are certainly contractual and financial repercussions to a player for that. Speaking of which, this week, after discussing the 82-game start and 2-week testing, Snell decided to get vocal on social media and say he's not doing it. Mr. Superstar of the Tampa Bay Rays says that he is not willing to take the pay cut that the Major League Baseball has proposed. Now, the cut they're proposing is, first of all, before the season began, knowing that it was when they cut the season or canceled the second half of spring training and put people on hiatus, the players' union came together and agreed with owners that we would prorate salary. So let's say Snell was paid $7 million a year, okay? Under a shortened season, he would get half of that, prorated for the games that were actually played. So in half a season, instead of getting $7,000, he'd get $3,500,000 prorated for the season because he didn't play half the year. Now they're talking about playing these games in empty stadiums to prevent the mass $45,000 populace spreading the virus all over the place. If they do this, that means the only revenue that these owners and the teams are making are from broadcasting rights, which is a set, flat amount for that Fox, CNN, NBC, ESPN, everybody can come in there with cameras and film for the viewing audience. You know what? As far as I'm concerned, it's better than nothing. It's not an ideal situation, and it's certainly takes away that home field advantage in a lot of ways because that crowd is not in it. It's like playing an expedition game with literally no crowd. We had a game like that the other year with Baltimore after the Camden riots, in which they played one game, and it was so weird watching a game take place, an official counted game, where there's just nobody there. It was so weird as cameras were panning around the empty stadium. Talk about unsold tickets. But I digress. The reality of the matter is that because there is no other revenue stream coming in besides the broadcasting rights, owners saying, I don't want to have to pay their full salary because I can't generate that kind of revenue. I'm not getting gate fees, I'm not getting merchandise sales, I'm not getting concession sales, I'm not getting 100 different ways that owners make money off of a single game are all wiped out for them. So instead of having the whole season be a complete wash and being out hundreds of millions of dollars for losing the whole season, they're trying to cut their losses and say, okay, let's at least be revenue neutral here. Even if we're not making a significant amount of money, at least we're not bleeding out the butt on revenue losses here. And let's just offer the players a 50-50 split where their salaries are 50% of the revenue we would generate from broadcasting, and we'll take all the other half for operational logistics expenses and everything else. And players are like, no, we don't want to take 50% cut on a prorated season plus a 50% of broadcasting rights just because you guys can't make more money. I'm guaranteed a certain contract. I get that. As a player, when you're used to a certain lifestyle, or used to a certain amount of wage, especially at the major league level, you want to make a certain amount of money, especially considering the fact that it's not a blanket amount of money. Let's say in Snell's case, $3,500,000 for this season, and let's say, for sake of argument, that was cut in half to $1.7 million for the season, based upon his portion of the revenue sharing from broadcasting rights. That is still taxed at like 40 to 50%. So I mean, you're talking about an original $7 million contract coming in at under $1 million on the year. That I understand how that is a significant cut and how Harper and other more vocal players are against that. I get that. At the same time, you're also talking about a game in which is considered non-essential by the government, by the way, because it is a sporting event. Second of all, if you truly love the game, as these minor leaguers would love to just come in and play for any amount of money. You got people like Aaron Judge still making minimum wage here. I mean, yeah, he is more than minimum wage now, but he played his first couple of years on $500,000 league minimum, and you have a lot of rookies coming in playing for league minimum. I've realized that once you're established, you've earned a higher contract, you get used to a certain lifestyle. I get that. At the same time, I think it makes the player look really, really bad when he goes on and broadcasts how he's not taking that risk. You know what? What's better, to make absolutely nothing and live off of your rich bank account from the previous year, or to at least get to play the game, make some money, and be a good sport about it, and raise your value as a player? Think about it. If you had said nothing, like most players do, come in there, play the game, make the money you do make, you look like a hero to the community, and all those millions of fans who buy your jerseys and buy your merchandise deals and buy all those other revenue streams that you can get to cash in on, they now love you and worship you even more because you stepped up, you played the game, and you helped provide that entertainment value, that stress relief factor, that escape that everyday citizens need. That's why they attend your games in the first place. So I want to know what all you think about what I think about everything covered here today. Do you like the shortened season? Do you like the prorated contract idea? Do you think it's going to get passed? In my opinion, I think that minor leaguers would love to jump into these rosters here. I think that the Players Union is going to reject the splitting of the broadcasting contracts out of hand. That whole 50-50 cut is not going to fly with Players Union. Many people have been outspoken about that. And rosters, do you think they're going to expand? Do you think they're going to stay with this 25, or do you think they're going to go to 40 or 50? Let me all know what you think. And if you just happen to be coming across this video, you're surfing through YouTube, please hit like and subscribe. It greatly helps the channel. I look forward to hearing from all of you what you think about the start of the season, about the negotiations, about the terms and conditions, etc. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the section below. I'd love to read them and create a future News of the Week video about them. Until then, have a great week, and I'll talk to you next time.